We have booked the ultimate dream family holiday to Orlando, Florida. And when I was researching, and trust me, I did a lot of research, I tried to find videos of like how much did people actually spend, and there were so many like you can do it cheap or doing Disney on a budget, and I just was like, I don't think budget and cheap should be anywhere near this sort of holiday, because it is a big holiday and a big expense, and I wanted to understand the cold hard cash figures that people were paying. And I'm a little bit nosy, but I also just wanted to know how much I could expect to spend. So I'm going to share exactly what we have spent as a family of 6 to go for 21 nights to Orlando, Florida, including villa, park tickets, car hire, travel insurance, you name it. I'm going to list it all out, and I'm going to share the hardcore figures with you. We've not used rewards, we've not used points or anything like that. This is just card hold cash money that has left my bank account. But I did use some cashback apps to get some of that money back. So if I'm going to be spending this amount, I need a little something back, please. And I love to find me a bargain. So I'm going to share all of those figures with you. And this isn't to brag, this isn't to show off, nothing like that. I just want transparency. I found it really difficult to find this content, to find kind of content relating to costs when it came to a family of our size. And so I wanted to just be able to be really open and transparent and share that with you. So here we go. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jess. I'm a 36-year-old working mum of 4. I was about to say of 6 just then. Don't want to be speaking that into my life, absolutely not. And we are going to Orlando, Florida. Now this is a dream holiday for us. I've already posted a video which you go and watch about essentials that we're taking and a little bit of context about why we're going, who we're going with, etc. But honestly, this is such an exciting holiday for us. So for context, and I think this is really helpful because there are a few things that I think do impact things like cost. So we are a family of 6, 2 adults and 4 children. However, the children are 13, 7, 5 and 4. The 5 and 7-year-old will be 8 and 6 when we go, and our 13-year-old is actually classed as an adult for almost everything, the flight, the park tickets, etc. So for the most part, we're actually paying for 3 adults and 3 children for this trip. The second thing is that we are going with friends, and so from an accommodation perspective, we are staying in a villa with a big group of people. Now we did split the cost slightly differently. The adults that we are going with were all like, we're just happy to split the cost between all the adults, but we didn't feel that that was right because we had so many more head count than everybody else, so we paid significantly more. I say significantly more, we paid just over double what everyone else did, but we felt that was the fairest thing to do, even though our friends were being so kind and generous and were happy to split the cost. So I will reflect that in the figures. However, I do think the cost that we've contributed is probably about the same if we hired an apartment or maybe got a smaller villa, just a couple of bedrooms for just our family. The third thing is when we are going. So term time versus like, what's the other one? School time. Term time, non-term time. You know what I mean. So one of our children is homeschooled, so that is not it's irrelevant in terms of when we go for her. The other 3 are in school or nursery. So one is in nursery, so again, it doesn't really matter so much, but 2 of them are in school. Now, 1 week of the holiday is term time and 2 weeks of the holiday is not term time. So the holiday's kind of in the middle a little bit because there is 2 weeks of holiday that is peak. So some of the things that we're doing when we're there are more expensive. The return flight is going to be more expensive, but we are leaving when it is term time. So it is a little bit cheaper, and I do think that has an impact on the cost. I have been in touch with school. We're not sure if we've got a school fine or not yet. I imagine we will, so we're just waiting for that to come through. We haven't included that in these costs for now, and if I did, I would take it out of spending money versus a hard cost, but anyway, so we'll wait and see what happens there. I asked you guys on Instagram how much you thought we'd be spending or how much you spent when you went, and the scale of like, it was wow. I think the cheapest I think someone guessed was about £5,000, and the most expensive was someone who said they are going this Easter for 8 people and have spent a whopping £40,000 on their holiday, which, listen, if you've got it, then do your thing. Like, absolutely love that for you. They did say, I think they're going for 14 nights for 8 people, and they're staying in a Disney hotel on resort, which obviously is very different than staying in a villa. But I was like, whoa, like and I think they're flying premium economy, which, listen, I love that for you. I'm at the back of the plane. We're going to be at the back of the plane. I'm just hanging onto a wing if it's 10% cheaper. So yeah, there was a huge range of budgets. But for the most part, about 50% of you got it about right. And so when you get to the end of this video, let me know if you got it right or not and how close you were to the final cost. Anyway, you didn't come here to listen to me yap, well you kind of did, but you came here to see the numbers, yeah? So let's see the numbers. So I'm going to pop up here a little spreadsheet and we're going to go through it line by line. Now I'm also going to give you context on the provider, when we booked it, and if we got any like rewards or cashback, and a breakdown of the cost if it's relevant and necessary. Are we ready? I also need to work out how I screen record my spreadsheet because I'm finding it sad now to do that. You press record. Okay, we're doing it. So I've moved across, I've made space for the spreadsheet. This is what we are working with. As you can see from the spreadsheet, I've split it into like essentials and non-essentials or variable. And the reason why I've done that is because essentials are like, you have to get there, right? Like you've got to get there. So you need a plane, you need somewhere to stay, you normally need to get around. And then I've done a few essentials that are kind of essential for us as a family, but I would probably recommend for most families, like guaranteeing your seats together and car seats for the car hire, things that are still deemed as essential. And then with the variable things, I've done this because you might not need these things. Now, when I say that, you're going to need park tickets if you're going to the parks, but you might not need this specific park ticket. Same with the airport hotel, you might live close to a hotel, you might get a lift to the hotel, etc. So I've done these as kind of non-essential stroke variable because I think this is where the cost will definitely shift depending on your circumstances and your family makeup. So let's get straight into it. The flights for all 6 of us I booked with British Airways using my British Airways Amex card. Now that made no difference to the cost, by the way. It just meant that I collected Avios points and it had an impact on my tier status in their reward system, which to be honest isn't that great. That is what I did. I used that and then paid that off straight away so that I didn't have any interest charges. And I'm actually impressed. I budgeted about £5,000 in my head for the flights for 6 of us, but the actual cost of the flights for all 6 of us return was £3,309.38 for all 6 of us. Now, it is a split cost between adult and child, but we're paying a total, I think it was about £406 per adult and like £391 per child, something like that. But ultimately, we obviously work in totals because we're just 2 parents paying for everyone. And so it's £3,309.38, which I thought was brilliant. I'm not gonna lie. Now again, I know it's thousands of pounds, but for the value of 6 people return, that is economy. I did look at upgrading and listen, I'm gonna have to win the lottery for that one because I looked at the cost and I was like, Trev, maybe we should just see how much it is. No. Now we did pay for our seats together, both outbound and inbound, and this was really expensive. Now I am not someone who's gonna just risk it and hope that they put the kids with the adults. I just don't. I'm not about that life. I don't agree that families should have to pay to sit together. However, I'm not going to risk it. I'm not going to risk it and then ask other people to move. That's just not my vibe. I'm not here for it. And this was a whopping £444 return, so £222 each way. I can't remember how much that was per person, but it was so expensive. Like, I just think that's such a huge chunk of the budget gone. But I did want to make sure we were sat together. I've got the peace of mind of knowing we're sit together. Also, I wanted us to sit right at the back of the plane, and I wanted us to sit 4 together and then 2 in front. And part of that was because Jason, I'm not sure how it's going to cope with flying. He's got additional needs. And I wanted to make sure that if he did kick or like got frustrated or, you know, hit the seat in front, it was just a member of our family who was impacted and not, you know, paying passenger on the flight. So hopefully he'll be fine, but I just wanted to make sure that we had that and that we were at the back of the plane, which I'm hoping is the least disruptive for other passengers. So that's how much it cost. And I do think that was a lot. I'm really like, that's cheeky, I do think, from the airlines. So far we've spent £3,753.38 just on flights. Now next up is the villa. Now of course I've already explained we're sharing with friends, and the total cost of the villa was actually £6,400, but that was between, how many adults going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 adults, including me and Trevor. Now they were all just going to split the cost between us, and we were like, no, that doesn't really feel right. So we paid a bit more. Now the villa cost does include extra hire because we heated the pool. We also got a barbecue, which we had to pay a couple of dollars per day for. I think that might be it. And we are staying in like the villas, like in a resort. So the total cost of our contribution to that was a total of £2,000. I also paid the security deposit for the whole booking, which was $250, but we will get that back at the end, providing we leave it obviously all okay, don't damage anything, which we hopefully won't. Now I have looked at other apartments and villas and they did work out similar prices between probably £1,200 and £2,400. So I feel like if we booked something separate, we would have been spending about the same money anyway. Next up are ESTAs and visas. Now, of course, if you already have these, then you're fine. But for most people traveling to America, if you don't go often, you will need to purchase these. Now, I was a little bit cheeky here. I say cheeky, but last year, the cost was half the price. They doubled the cost this year. So from, I think it was like, might have been January, they doubled the cost of the ESTA from $21 to $40, I think it was like $40 per person. So because we already had this booked, I just booked and did our ESTAs before the price changed to get it as cheap as possible. Now I could only actually do that for 4 of us because for 2 of us, for Isabella and Trevor, Trevor's passport needed renewing, so we couldn't do it until we got that back, which passed the date. And somebody in our house decided to rip out pages of Isabella's passport, so we had to get a new passport. So those 2 were at the new cost, but for the most part, we got them done. And so that cost our family a total of £129. Now next up is car hire, and I shopped around, right? I was like adamant. Now friends who we're going with, we can't all fit in one car, so we have everyone's kind of getting their own cars, and the villa does have parking enough because we checked that. I think it's got parking for like 4 cars. But oh my gosh, I shopped everywhere. I ended up using Top Cashback to pay for the car hire because it ended up being the best deal because we got a bit of money back, and when I looked at reviews, most people recommended Alamo and you could use it through there. We also had friends who a few months ago were in Florida and were like, buy Alamo, pre-book it, you skip the queues, it's so much easier. So we've got a 7-seater SUV. I think it's like a Nissan Pathfinder, I want to say. It's quite a big car. We got, I think that's the equivalent, it's like a Nissan Pathfinder. I did pay extra for us to be able to just skip the queue. So when we get there, we just have all our details. We uploaded all of this stuff, like our driving license stuff, and we can just go and get the car. And that came to a total of £929.88. Now I have seen other people get significantly cheaper car hire, but most of the time it's because they're not 7-seaters, and I found like getting an SUV 7-seater, the price like just was so much higher. Now another essential is we did have to get car seats, so we got 2 bigger car seats and then 1 booster seat, so 2 for the boys and then 1 for Isabella because she's still quite diddy, and that cost us an extra £210 because they were £70 each to hire for the whole 3-week duration. So this is for 21 nights, pick up from the airport and drop back off at the airport. In total that was a bit spenny, but I actually don't think that was too bad in terms of the value of the car that we're getting, the mileage. I also paid for like what's it called, where you don't have to fill the car back up on arrival, or like when you bring the car back, all of that stuff. I'm a big believer, and you'll see it throughout this, like if I can make our lives a little bit easier in any way, then that is what I will do. Also with the car hire, we got Top Cashback, and I actually got £120 cashback by booking Alamo through Top Cashback, which I think is like brilliant. Now I've not really included the cashback in our like savings or in the totals because it will, by the time it clears, it's normally like months after, but it's quite nice to get a bit of that money back at least. But that was £120, which is amazing. Next up is travel insurance. I am shooketh. I don't know why. I normally buy travel insurance. I guess we haven't travelled long haul as a family before, and not for as long, so I was quite shocked at the costs. But I used Top Cashback for this, and I went through a company called Wonder because you actually also got Avios points, which yes please. So I got, let me have a look, £72.94 back in cashback and 1,000 Avios points, so I was quite happy with that, and that came to a total of £291.78, which still spenny, but obviously getting 70 odd quid back was quite nice. But I can't believe it cost almost £300. Now we did get like, it was like a gold cover, you could get it slightly cheaper, but given how hospitals and medical care works in the US, I didn't want to risk it at all. So I opted to pay for the more expensive travel insurance to just ensure that everyone's covered, and we got that peace of mind. So far with the essentials, we are at £7,314.04. I have gone on package holidays in Spain, all inclusive for a week, for a family of 6, and have probably looked at £4,000 or £5,000. And so for me, for a long haul trip, that is good value for money. It's not cheap. I'm not saying it's cheap. I need to make that really crystal clear. It's not cheap, but I do think it is good value for money so far. So let's move on to the variable stuff. Now, the likelihood is most people are going to be going to the parks when they go there, so that's why I've included it. And I did so much stuff on working out like who wanted to go to what park and what, to work out what tickets we needed. But anyway, let's start with the airport hotel. So we live about 2.5 hours from the airport that we're traveling from, and our flights, I think we have to check in at like 8 a.m. Whilst that's not horrific, I just, again, want to make our lives as easy as possible. Traveling with 4 children, like it's stressful as it is, traveling as stressful as it is, so I wanted to make life as easy as possible. So I did manage to find the Travelodge though for actually really well priced. Now I shopped around again, as I do, because I wanted to see if it was cheaper to get like a hotel with hotel parking, like what was going to be the deal, and it ended up being cheaper to do it all separate. So we booked with the Travelodge and actually found £40 per room in their new super rooms in the local airport hotel, which is a 5-minute drive away, which I think is really good value. We don't all fit in one room, unfortunately, so I did have to book 2 rooms, and then I upgraded to make sure that we could get breakfast included, and so that came to a total of £114 for the 6 of us, including breakfast and 2 rooms. I think that's really good value and worked out significantly cheaper. They had some airports on site, but they were like £300-400, and again, with a family of 6, it's really difficult to fit in a room, so quite often you need to have 2 rooms anyway. I also booked that through Top Cashback, and I think I got £1.44 back. It was like 0.2% cashback, but it was still something, so I was happy with that. Now the meet and greet parking, again, making lives as easy as possible. I'm not trying to faff with 4 kids, driving to like the shuttle, getting on the shuttle, getting in the like all the luggage. We do often get meet and greet parking, and we actually got, I think, a fairly good deal on this. So we got meet and greet parking at the terminal, and then 21 nights. So what that means is when you drive in, you go to like the short stay terminal car park, like in the terminal basically, get your luggage out, you hand in your keys, and off you go. I think they take your car and park it somewhere else. When you get back, when you land back, they drive your car back to the thing, and then you literally come out the terminal, straight out the airport, and get straight into your car. And I must admit, it is probably the one travel non-negotiable that we've done for years if traveling with the kids, because it does make life so much easier. So we managed to get this for £144 for 21 nights. I booked directly through Top Cashback with Gatwick Airport direct, and I did get, I think, £5 and 5p back on cashback, which again, it's a little bit, but it's a bit of something. Now let's get on to the juicy bit, the park tickets, right? Because this is where I feel like you can just blow the budget, right? You can just go absolutely cray. So I talked about doing a spreadsheet, and I'll just insert a little picture here. We did this where I just worked out all the rides, all the like characters, everything that everyone wanted to see, and then just put yes, that person wants to see it, that person wants to see it, that person wants to see it, and just worked out what ticket option would be the most cost effective for us based on that. And it turned out that the 14-day universal ticket was going to be the best option. Now the combo ticket we loved, but it was over £1,000 per person, and I couldn't justify it, thinking that we're probably not going to go that often, and actually we're going to want to spend more time in the Universal Park, so this makes a bit more sense for us. So we ended up going with attraction tickets, and then one day we were saving for them, and then Trevor was like, there is I think it might have been Black Friday, it was in November, it was like, there's a Black Friday sale they've got, just email me, there's a 25% off discount code. And we were like, have we got the cash? We had the cash. We were like, let's just book it. So the actual cost, I think, was well over £3,000, and then we used this, I think the actual cost was like £3,300, and then we got this email, got this code, and for the total for all of us, we ended up spending £2,524.80 for a 14-day unlimited pass with Park Hopper for all 6 of us. So we can go to any of the Universal Parks, so Islands of Adventure, Volcano Bay, there's a massive long list of them, but we can go to all of those for 14 days, 40 consecutive days, and we booked it for a couple of days after we arrive. But we saved a whopping like £754 or something ridiculous, like a really big chunk, by just not booking it there and then and just waiting out for those discount codes. They are really good. I've looked since, and they've got a 20% off discount code now, and they have quite a few throughout the year, so it's well worth having a look at when they're going to be out, because that saved us a huge chunk of money. Now, we're obviously not going for the combo tickets that we can also go to Disney, but we will be going to Disney. And again, we looked at the spreadsheet and we were like, these are places that we want to go to. And so we haven't bought these yet, but I wanted to include them because I wanted to share exactly, because this is kind of a guaranteed cost when we arrive. So we are doing 2 days, one at Magic Kingdom and one at Hollywood Studios. Magic Kingdom, because pretty much all of us want to go there, and I'm not going all the way to Disney and not seeing the castle. No, it's not happening. And then for Hollywood Studios, because the girls really want to go on that House of Horrors ride and the boys are obsessed with Toy Story, and that is where Toy Story Land is. So this is really expensive for what it is. If you are doing day tickets to the parks, you're looking at almost $200 per person to get in. So it's normally between $160 and $190 per day to go in, which is why the 14-day passes are far more value for money than just going day by day. We also couldn't find the 2 or 3 day park tickets. You can get them when you're in the US, but you can't buy them in the UK for the US. So what we've done is just costed out the max cost, which I think is about $190 per person per day for the 2 days. Works out at £1,620 for all of us, which 2 days is just wild. But we did look at getting the 14-day Disney pass to see if it was worth the money, and then overlapping the 2 14-day tickets, so the 14-day Universal and the 14-day Disney, and then having 21 days covered for the whole trip. But it actually worked out about £2,800, even with a 20% code. And the reality was we don't have enough days on holiday, and so whilst it's better value for money, I would be spending another £1,000 and actually not using it any more than if we just went on the day ticket, which is where our rationale came from. So we ended up just doing that, and that's what we're going to do. When we land and we get there and we've got Wi-Fi and we're in the US and have a US VPN, we will have a look and see if we can do the 2 or 3 park day tickets, which might work out cheaper. And I think you can be, there are more options when you get there, but for now, that is what we've put aside. The 2 or 3 day park tickets might be a bit cheaper anyway, but that is what we've put aside to cover it. As you would have seen, the total cost for 6 people to travel on this whole trip is £11,716.84. Seeing that number in total actually makes me feel a little bit sick, I'm not gonna lie. It is a lot of money, but for 6 people for 3 weeks, including all of the things that we've included, I feel like is, I was gonna say reasonable, but that's just, I don't know what language to use without it sounding just ridiculous. But I do think it's value for money for what we are getting. It's a once in a lifetime trip for us. I say once in a lifetime, there are people who go every single year, but for us personally, it's not something we'd ever be able to afford every single year. Although I'm not gonna speak that into existence. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm going to pop off on YouTube and I'll be there every week. Who knows? But for now, that is where we're at. It took us, well, maybe 2 years to save in total. And then more recently, which most of you would have seen if you've seen me on other channels, and I've done a vlog as well, we got extra jobs. I got a second job, well, I guess third job, because I've got my corporate full-time job, socials, and then I got a part-time job in a pub, like working on a Friday night, Saturday night, and then Trevor's pretty much worked like 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, when he could pick up overtime shifts, which pay better as well. Socials and the full-time job, obviously, I've had for a long time, and then the extra job I've had for most of this year, and then Trevor's been doing the overtime shifts for just over a year, probably about 14 months. That's what we've done on top of everything else, and then try to be more like savvy with how we're saving and spending. Should we probably get some of the big works that need doing in our house and fix the kitchen and get the carpets done? Yeah, probably, but we're not. How we're adults, I don't know, but that is what we're doing. Now, most of you guessed about right. I'd say 50% of people said between £8,000 and £12,000 for the size of our family, and you were pretty much spot on. Is how much we've spent. I might do an extra video, I think, because I feel like this is going to be really long, on spending money and how we're saving for that and what I think things will cost, because we've not included that in this video at all, and that is another big chunky expense, because obviously we've spent all this and there's not an ounce of food when we get there included, and at this point I'm packing ramen because what? So I want to do a separate video about how we're splitting that. I did talk about it on Instagram stories, so do let me know if you want that video, but I've split it into like bronze tier spending, silver tier holiday, and gold tier holiday, and like how much we needed to save for each of those to make the trip like everything that we wanted. But hopefully that all makes sense. I don't know if that figure is helpful. I don't know if it surprises you, if you think that's way too much or way too little, or kind of somewhere in between. Most of you did guess right, so I guess it's fairly average. But for us, when I originally done the budget, I think I massively overestimated, and so in my head I thought it was going to be about 18 to 20,000 pounds. So for me to get it for under 12 is like a significant difference for what my expectation was. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'd love for you to comment below and let me know, what do you save, spend and splurge on? Like, what are your kind of go-to things when you go to Disney Orlando, and are there any things that I could have got cheaper, or maybe I've got a really good deal on? Because I'd love to know, although maybe don't tell me if I could have got them really cheap, because that's just going to make me really sad. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can see all of the Disney vlogs that are going to be coming, because there are going to be loads. I've also just worked out that our Insta360 camera is waterproof, so we can take it on all the rides, which I cannot wait, and take it to the water park. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you again. I hope this video was helpful for anyone who was wondering about costs like I was, and some of the tips and tricks. Obviously, top cashback, like, get on it. You need to get on it. It is so good. And I think I've got, what's that in total? 120. I think I've got about nearly £200 coming back for when we get back from holiday, which Lord knows we're probably going to need. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video and it was helpful. Thanks again. Until next time, see you soon. Bye.